Chapter 1. How have recent historical events affected the course of research in organizational psychology? Give an example of an event and the resulting outcome. According to the textbook, many examples of recent historical events are mentioned, and they include 9/11, the 2008 recession, and the increasing level of globalization. Now, an example of an event and the resulting outcome is the increasing technological advances that have resulted in what we now know to be the 24-hour workday. Industrial and organizational psychologists study the effects of this shift and work with organizations and the individuals within those organizations to help both maximize organizational benefits and individual security and comfortability. Chapter 3. Describe the socialization process for graduate students in your program. Is the program successful in socializing newcomers and creating job embeddedness? The socialization process for students has included communication between prospective students, such as me and my fellow classmates, and Liberty's admissions office. The admissions team at Liberty work to ensure a swift and easy transition into the university through contact via email and phone call. By simply being available and answering all questions about the graduate program, Liberty University makes itself available to students like me. They work hard to socialize their students by offering information, guidance, and assistance throughout the entire process of being a student, and I believe it to be a successful socialization process. Chapter 4. How can an organization reduce or prevent work-family conflict? An organization can reduce or prevent work-family conflict by providing help through resource and support services. For example, at Liberty University, the Student Advocate Office provides help to, quote, overcome obstacles and complete courses, end quote. Also, the Office of the Military Affairs helps members of the military, like me, who are in the middle of military careers while gaining an education online. These resources are some examples of how an organization can reduce work-family conflict. Work-family conflict is a potential barrier and very real, and these resources help alleviate the stress and individual grind it takes to complete a job or degree while managing the responsibilities and priorities that come with raising a family. Chapter 5. Imagine you have been asked to develop a performance assessment program for employee development. What techniques could you use to adequately evaluate employee performance as comprehensively as possible? To evaluate employee performance as comprehensively as possible, I would measure both the quantity and quality of the employee's work. I would employ a behaviorally anchored rating scale, which would allow the employee, employer, student, or teacher to assess the different dimensions of the individual. This rating scale is less generic with more detail that minimizes the amount of subjectivity within the rating scale. A viewpoint specifically cited on page 145, chapter 5 of our online textbook. When assessing leadership skills, I would emulate the textbook and put in the scale something like employee waits for others to solve a problem in a group setting, which would be a low level of leadership performance. In contrast to that, a high level of leadership performance would be rated by leading the group to solve that particular problem. Level of adaptability can be rated by using a scale of the student or employee or individual responds poorly to changing circumstances, which would be a low level of adaptability performance, whereas a high level would be that the student, employee, or individual responds positively to changing circumstances. The behaviorally anchored rating scale would include scales as detailed as possible, which would lead to lower levels of subjectivity in the ratings and responses, in comparison to the performance rating scale used by Van Dyne and Lepin, mentioned in Chapter 5. Chapter 6. What are some possible common organizational constraints? How could they lead to counterproductive behaviors? Some common organizational constraints include anything that may hinder an employee or student's ability to perform their duties. These unfortunately have a trickle-down effect on productivity because they produce behaviors that minimize the individual output, which can damage the organization and the individual. Thank you.